Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here today. This is your one-stop shop for cryptocurrency analysis, among many other things. Now we're taking a look at comp, which is compound, and this is a request from my community. Go ahead and cover this based on the recent price action. I took a quick glance at it. It does look very awesome as far as what it's doing currently. Now, obviously, we're going to hopefully help you find best practice, good entry points, and just educate you along the way, of course. So if you open to learning new things, this is the right option for you. If you're new to the channel, feel free to subscribe if you find benefit. But just know I'm not a financial advisor. This is for educational purposes only. You should always do your own research. And if you want to do less research, I do it for my community. Feel free to reference my Telegram community below. I have a signal group, however, that works very well, whereas I send out 3 to 5 signals per week, just indicating good entry points and helping you kind of stay abreast, because not everyone has the time that I do to be able to look at these charts. I just happen to love it. I enjoy it. So I am just strange like that. Hopefully, you'll see that here in this near future, as far as just how much I like this and just how much I enjoy this. So thank you all to my community for helping the channel grow, and just more importantly, sticking with me through from the get-go. You're all very awesome. Really appreciate and love you very much. But without further ado, I'll stop rambling. I do that from time to time. Let's just go ahead and get right to it. All right, folks, let's go ahead and take a look at comp, which is compound. And this is an interesting one because it is doing pretty good things here today, and I just want to make sure we cover it. Thank you to my community again for requesting that I do cover this. I took a quick peek and it looks pretty awesome. And I don't really technically know much about this because, again, this is not a fundamental analysis, this is a technical analysis. So we'll just take a look at Bitcoin and Ethereum first to see if we can get a baseline on the market. Okay, so if you're new to the channel, we just look at those quickly to understand kind of more specifically what's going on, just so we can make an informed decision, understanding all the angles, right? So that's kind of the purpose there. And me being kind of tenured and experienced, I find benefit in looking at the big picture first before just making an investment on a smaller time frame. You have to do yourself a favor and do that. This is why we look at that here. Try to take this away, take the research away from you and just make it easy and do it for you, right? So either way, this is Bitcoin, 4-hour chart. We use TradingView desktop application, and I always enable my simple moving averages, which is the 50, this yellow line here. This is a 50-day simple moving average, and the 200, which is the purple line here. So to kind of get perspective on what's going on here with Bitcoin, first of all, we have a major support level at 30,000, major resistance at 42,000. Current resistance, which may soon be tested, is at 36,500. We just broke the 50-day moving average a couple days ago, and today we are testing the 200-day moving average. So this is neither good nor bad news. It just basically means that we are in a position right now in the last 16 hours where the price has not increased past that. It's kind of consolidating, going sideways, which is a good sign because we're either going to break up or break down. Hopefully break up, of course, just based on the overall sentiment. I do feel like it's likely to come up and test 36,500 in the near future. That is kind of what we're looking at there. And of course, I just drew this this line in the last review because of the fact that we are seeing that this is being tested consistently. So it's working kind of as a supporting wedge pattern, which could work out to be a breakout in the near future, depending on if it comes in and tests that again. That's the hope. So Ethereum, let's take a look at this one next. Now, almost a similar scenario for Ethereum. First of all, just to note, we have a major support at 1725, major resistance at 2900, which was tested, by the way, 10 times. I've counted it. We haven't gotten back there yet. But I think that if Bitcoin can surpass 36,500 and make its way to 42, obviously Ethereum will take off and break that quite easily. That's my guess. But great news is we're right above the 200-day moving average. And as you can see, Bitcoin was doing a similar pattern here, but Ethereum's technically doing a little bit better. I think it's getting more market capitalization and more people coming back to Ethereum now, the ones that had left back when it was in the sub 2,000 range. But the 200-day moving average is working as a support. So we do have some really good things going here. This could potentially lead to a golden cross, which they refer to as a very positive indication of an upward momentous trend. So just be mindful of that. That's Ethereum 4-hour chart. Now comp, let's take a look at this here. First of all, we look at the 1-day chart. Always look at the 1-day chart first to kind of understand where it's come from, right? How it's responded to Bitcoin. So let's take a look at here. So on the 17th of April, this is the first major Bitcoin sell-off. So right here, normal, we saw that dip. And the 22nd was a second sell-off. Actually did very well. And then on the 25th, things ramped up. Okay. Yeah, so for the most part, comp is performing similarly to Bitcoin, but also not as much, right? Because it wasn't overextended before this happened. So it's kind of going sideways this whole time. So good news is right now we're looking at about 350 to about 480 as the average true range prior to the increase here. Now on the 25th is when Bitcoin went sideways. But up here it did very well. Now look at that, it did very good. So a lot of other altcoins were going sideways with Bitcoin, whereas this one is increased significantly. So let's look at the first Elon candle. So May 12th is right here. That was the first major Elon candle there. So it was impacted, as well as the fact that the 18th, 19th China candle, no surprise, we got smashed down there. So a lot of similarities here for comp to others. It's just that comp wasn't overextended before all these things happened. It ramped up after the first major sell-off in Bitcoin. So to me, that tells me there's probably some pretty strong fundamentals. Again, I don't know much about the fundamentals here. My community asks that I cover this, so thank you again for that. Always do your own research, but I can tell you that, it's interesting if we look at this because the 200, this is supposed to be a death cross, right? When the 50 comes down, it just broke right through it. It didn't even matter. So that's why I like to not really emphasize the importance of a death cross. Again, it depends on the time frame that you use them on and generally what it is, because Bitcoin death cross is more important, I guess you could say, than comp. However, just note that there's, it's more speculation if somebody says that, oh, it has to be, this is going to happen. Don't trust it because they go both ways, honestly. It's just kind of general rule of thumb that there's likelihood that the industry leaders will sell off when a death cross occurs. So we should have seen a major sell off here, but we didn't. RSI is coming up closer to 70, so just be mindful there might be a retracement, as well as the fact that we had a slight convergence here a few days ago, which puts us right at about this time frame. So had you picked up on that indicator, you could have gotten at about 265, whereas it's about 457. So always pay attention to the MACD on the 1 day and the 4-hour chart, because when there's a convergence and the price swings back up, when the 12 intersects with the 26, we've got a really good opportunity for a buy signal. So that's usually one of the major indicators that I use in my signal group, for example, that keeps me very successful, is to just identify that first. That's why the bigger time frames is important. Always be sure to look at that. But each time frame serves a purpose, right? So just be aware of that. The moving averages, the simple moving averages, work very well on the 4-hour and the 1-day chart. Same with the MACD, whereas shorter time frames, we want to use maybe the EMA and the VWAP lines. We'll check that out here in a moment. So that's kind of where we're at right now for comp at the time right now. 4-hour chart, let's take a look at this here. So this is really good news. See, this is where you could say a golden cross is kind of the inverse of that death cross I was referring to, that is kind of coming into play here. So as you can see, the price action is the 50s intersecting with the 200. When we see that happen, it basically refers to as a golden cross, and that usually sends the price going upwards, right? Again, I don't put a lot of weight into that. I think that's purely coincidence here, but that is essentially going on at this point in time, so that could continue to push the price action up. Furthermore, we got RSI up over 70 on the 4-hour chart. This is an indication of a sell signal, not necessarily saying that you should sell it right now, but you should be mindful to see how much longer it stays up there, because it should only stay up there for so long. And if it starts coming back down, it's a case in point where you might want to trim and or sell your position. Okay, because me personally, I love when the RSI is over 70. It's usually a good sign, it's a bullish trend. However, you want to be mindful of the fact that it could come crashing back down. And if that's the case, then we want to wait for the RSI to come back down. Okay. I apologize. It's 4th of July, a lot of fireworks. My dog is very excited right now, so you might hear that moving forward. Sorry about that. All right, so moving on to the 1-hour chart, let's take a look at the Ichimoku Cloud. And the important thing to look at here is essentially if it's above or below. All right, so if you're new to the channel or just new to the cloud in general, it's the Ichimoku Cloud, most effective on the 1-hour chart. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. On the 1-hour chart, if you see the price jump above the cloud, it's considered a buy signal. Look at this, we've gotten 3 significant buy signals in the last, what is that? I guess week, perhaps? I think that's about a week, yeah. Right around 1 week. So in the last week, we've gotten a major buy signal here. So had you invested here, you would have gotten, again, depending on where you got out, somewhere between 21 to 38% increase. Had you got in on the second increase here, it probably would have been more subtle, maybe somewhere between 10 to 12%. And the most recent one, this is the big guy, 40%. Okay, so you can never discredit the cloud. The cloud is probably one of the most beneficial things you could use when making an analysis. Obviously use it in conjunction with the MACD on the 4-hour and the 1-day chart, as well as the moving averages on those time frames. But the bottom line here is that we've got some really good momentous indications of a buy signal. Okay, so just keep in mind that's pretty much confirming that for us. So let's take a look at the 15-minute chart. And if you are new to the channel, again, I just kind of like to kind of presume that you're new. And what we do is we look at the EMA and the VWAP notification to kind of tell us more specifically of buy signals. And we've got some pretty cool signals here. I'll show that to you in a moment. But just to clarify back here, this is when the price went above the cloud here. So as you can see, it was a really good time to get in because the price is over EMA and VWAP right here. And just to clarify, again, if you don't know what that is, the VWAP is the volume weighted average price. Okay, so this blue line is the volume weighted average price, takes the volume the last 24 hours, expresses it as a price. Basically tells us right now the price should be 424, whereas it's upwards of 452. Okay, so that's a variance of approximately 7%, which means it's a little on the overextended side, but just something to be mindful of. But what I was getting at back here is the fact that had you got in, just say when the cloud broke above, this would have been a very good signal. And here's interesting too. This is a signal indication that I have on my time frame here. In other words, for my EMA VWAP notification, it notifies me when the price comes above the EMA and the VWAP lines. But more importantly, it has to be two solid candle bars. In other words, we want 30 minutes of confirmation above the EMA and VWAP line to take entry. So if you see this here, this is what occurred there. Coincidentally, we got the Ichimoku Cloud and it took off. Now, bear in mind, it came over and retraced, came back down, but you see how it bounced and it didn't pass the volume weighted average price. The fact that it stayed above both these lines and gave us another new indication of a buy signal. You could have added to your position here and or just pretty much held on, confirming the fact that you're on the right track. Okay, so always pay attention to good confirmation. I think the 15-minute chart gives us that because it gives us, not just 4 or 5 minutes of, momentum in one direction. It tells us that in the last 30 minutes, the bulls have taken control with the price being over the EMA and VWAP lines, telling us that we have significant confirmation and good entry. Okay, so pretty much anytime you see these little yellow up arrows, this is my notification telling me to take entry. So had you taken entry here or here, you would still be in a good position to have netted approximately 20% gain right there. Okay, so I wish I'd caught this a lot sooner because honestly, comp appears to be doing very well. And again, just bear in mind, its average true range is nearing that. It should be in the $400 to $600 range, where it's in the 452 range right now. So just keep that in mind. This is taken, this has done a lot of increasing in the last 24 to 48 hours. So you just want to be careful when taking entry in this scenario because it is a bit on the overextended side, but keep in mind we still have strong confirmation. Look at that. Let me mark that a little bit better. You see where the price action bounces off the EMA line here, just shoots right back up. This means the bulls are in complete control. Okay, so we got all sorts of indications here. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. What are your thoughts here? And moving forward, honestly, if you like this kind of content, feel free to consider subscribing. And obviously join my Telegram community if you haven't already. And if you're interested in signals too, I send 3 to 5 signals per week. That's available through my Patreon account as my premium Patreon. And that basically just allows for you to get signals weekly, signals like this where I use these kind of notifications to tell me to take entry. And I'm joining in these trades as well so that you're actually following along with me in these trades. And so far, we've got 100% success this week and 82% last week. So they're working out to be a pretty good option there. But in my Telegram community, I do post those results, of course, just so you can see that. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and say goodbye and good day to you. Happy 4th of July if you're in the States. Otherwise, I hope you all have a good rest of the week. Be safe, and we'll see you next one. Thank you. Take care.